If you've spent the last few evenings scrolling through endless piano listings, watching video after video trying to tell which digital piano actually feels worth the money, you're not alone. I've been there, too, sitting at my kitchen table with a laptop open, a notepad full of pros and cons, and still wondering whether the next instrument would finally give me that authentic touch without breaking the bank. This review is going to pull back the curtain on the Kawai CX202 digital piano and let you decide if it truly belongs in your practice room, or if you should keep looking. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. That's the model we're talking about, the CX202, a white-finished, 88-key digital piano that promises a responsive hammer compact 2-graded action and a selection of 17 sounds. It's not just another entry-level keyboard, it's positioned as a step up for those who want a realistic feel but don't need the full suite of high-end studio features. Let's break down what that actually means for you. First, let's talk about the action. Kawai's Hammer Compact 2 mechanism tries to mimic the weight gradation of an acoustic piano, lighter keys in the higher register, heavier in the bass. In practice, that translates to a feel that's noticeably more piano-like than the cheap synth-type keys you see on budget boards. I've tried a few of these in a friend's apartment, and the initial finger resistance felt genuine enough that my practice routine didn't need to be adjusted when I switched back to my family's upright. For beginners who are worried about developing bad technique, the graded action is a practical advantage. It prevents the habit of playing with a uniformly light touch, which can be a hurdle when moving to a real piano later on. The CX202 also boasts 192-note polyphony. For most home players, even intermediate ones, that number is more than sufficient. The biggest impact you'll feel is in pieces with heavy pedaling and sustained chords like a Chopin nocturne or a modern pop ballad with layered synth pads. In those moments, the instrument can hold every note without dropping out, unlike some cheaper models that choke after around 64 notes. If you're the type who likes to experiment with layering sounds or using the sustain pedal heavily, the polyphony will keep your performance fluid. Now, the sound engine, 17 built-in voices ranging from grand piano to electric piano, organ, strings, and a few synth tones. While the selection isn't exhaustive, the core piano sound is surprisingly articulate. In a side-by-side listen with a mid-range acoustic piano, the digital piano's timbre held its own, especially in the mid-range where most beginners spend most of their time. The extra voices are useful if you like to dabble in light accompaniment. Think of adding a soft organ pad while you practice chord progressions, or switching to a bright electric piano for a jazz standard. That flexibility gives you more tonal variety without needing external plugins or a separate keyboard. One practical strength that often goes unnoticed is the built-in speaker system. The small, white enclosure houses 2 modest speakers that deliver a clear, balanced sound in a typical living room environment. I tested the piano in a standard 12-square-meter apartment, and the output filled the space enough for solo practice without needing external amplification. That's a real convenience if you don't want to haul a separate amp or monitor around. The downside, however, is that the speakers lack the depth you'd expect from a larger cabinet or a dedicated PA system, so if you plan on performing for a small audience or streaming, you'll probably want to route the audio out to a better monitor. Another feature to highlight is the dual split mode. The piano can divide the keyboard into 2 zones, letting you assign different sounds to each hand, say, a piano on the left and a synth on the right. For composers or those who enjoy layering, this is a handy tool for quick experiments. It also works well for teaching. You can set up a bass line on the lower half while a student practices melody on the upper half, making lessons more interactive without extra gear. The configuration is straightforward, though the menu can feel a bit cramped if you're not used to digital piano interfaces. So, who should consider the CX202? If you're a beginner to intermediate player who wants a realistic key feel but doesn't need the extensive connectivity of a workstation, this piano hits a sweet spot. It's especially fitting for people living in apartments who need a respectable sound source without a massive speaker setup, and for teachers who want a single instrument that can cover basic piano, organ, and synth sounds for lesson variety. The white finish also blends nicely into a home core that leans toward lighter tones, so if aesthetics matter to you, that's a plus. Who might skip it? If you're a professional pianist looking for a stage-ready instrument, the limited sound library and modest onboard speakers will likely feel restrictive. Likewise, if you're a serious composer who relies on extensive layering, multiple MIDI